Hello everyone and welcome to my first ever YouTube video. I'm Silverraptor and I will be playing Wargame Red Dragon, a game, a Cold War style game which I will play and feature regularly. So, I first want to thank you all for coming in and checking out my channel as it just starts out, as I have a nice replay for you all of a game that I play as the United States. So, without further ado, let's go and get the play button. So, it starts off, we're all going to go into places. I'll just speed it up a bit. I have a bunch of helicopters here, some DAPs, some progs with Marines, Hueys and Kiowa, and I intend to go over and capture Kilo as my allies go everywhere else. Now, I begin to see that the enemy brings over some helicopters, and fair note, last call actually left at the very start of the game, and I actually didn't catch that, so that will play in factor later. My DAPs and their Mi-24Ps have a bit of an air-to-air battle, so I feel like I fended off, but I accidentally already landed my infantry here, so I'm going to have to walk them all the way to the small village. In the meanwhile, my allies are trundling forward, and we're going to capture Charlie, as Bismarck right here brings out 4 Lafayette ships. Now, these Lafayettes do have medium stealth, and that actually is pretty huge on the water. A lot of things can miss these as they trundle forward, so this is a big element of surprise, as this will go forward and try to capture Alpha, and he's going to intend to go and try to capture Foxtrot here. Meanwhile, Cairo, after we realize no one sent anything to Echo, is going to capture this, send his CV here, and then this will allow reinforcements for me to reinforce Kilo. I use my Kiowa to spot, and I begin seeing that all of these vehicles are coming down. So I need to hurry up and get my infantry forward. Cairo has some Volkswagen right here to cover the road as it comes down. There's some T-80Bs come forward to take them on. Meanwhile, I begin seeing that they have LSTR-40s and a bunch of vehicles coming in. So I need to punish this pretty well. I need to slow it down, and I need to get these LSTR-40s. I tried to move my Marines forward. Unfortunately, as you can see, they all tear them apart, so they don't last long. But I bring in a Nighthawk, and with its stealth and massive bombs, scored a perfect hit on target at the front of the convoy. So that was a very good start opening there. Unfortunately, as you can see, they greatly outnumber what I have because of the extra points for last call left. And I didn't catch that, so I didn't realize my mistake until later. And then I could finally start bringing in reinforcements directly from Echoes to be less of a commute. Meanwhile, Cairo's Volkswagen Jaeger 90s are taking on these T-80Bs, and so we moved them back because these Ares missiles have quite a bit of range, as well as these bombs from the Fighting Falcon stunning up and damaging these T-80Bs to allow these Volkswagen Jaegers to get the killing blow left onto these T-80Bs, I believe. So as soon as these reload, he tries to retreat the T-80Bs, and he takes them out. Pretty much chases them off. Now they're pushing into here. My U.S. Marines try to hold them off as best they could, but unfortunately, there's just too many. And even though U.S. Marines are good, they're not enough to deal with grenade launchers and LSTR-40s simultaneously. So, as you can see, I am breaking apart on Kilo. I'm bringing reinforcements. I'm bringing Abrams. I'm bringing forward some Abrams. So I'm not doing well on the left. On the right, however, the 4 Lafayettes managing to catch out a landing ship. Like I said, the stealth of these Lafayettes, I don't think that Commander Broski realized that there were 4 ships out here, or he never would have brought in his a landing ship right here. They tried to counteract it with a B-5, with its 3,000 kilogram bomb. However, don't ever try to put a bomber over a ship, because before he could get his bomb off, the anti-air is just too great for a ship. And it becomes a pile of wreckage in the water. So, anti-radar ships and anti-ship planes are what you need to take on actual ships. Bombers don't work, so don't try. In the meanwhile, we've got PS360, who actually is in a pretty good position with all these Bradleys, is able to screen and cover this area, preventing him from moving forward, and is able to capture this town. So a nice cover up here. Meanwhile, my U.S. Marines are making a final stand here, not doing so well, as I try to, they're trying to hold off as best they can. I move my IP Abrams in position, and I see these Commandozis, and with the help of this Twin Huey, I figure, oh, I'll be able to take out these Commandozis no problem. These LCR-40s are a different problem for this M1 IP Abrams, as their rocket launchers are doing way more damage onto the front than I expected. Now at this point, I'm starting to see that my M1 IP Abrams is taking quite a significant damage, and at first I am confused at why it's taking so much damage, so I try to reverse it, and that's when I notice that it's actually being hit by a helicopter. So again, my rusty mistake, and I lose my M1 IP Abrams. I back up this M1 IP Abrams, trying to get into this forest, and then I would intend to reverse it to try to stay away from the LSTR-40s, but I underestimated the range of these LSTR-40s, as you'll see in a moment. And the moment he pokes himself out into they hit it, and there goes out my tanks. Now, I do have this problem. I tend to go all gung-ho, full tilt, and my first instinct was just to shove these LVTPs forward, and I probably would have lost them all. But I managed to recover and realized that was not the perfect solution. So I began to setting up a defensive line here, moving them back to set up these smogs to cover this road area, and then just start building the defensive line. Cairo and PS360 are beginning to take the center here. Some Storm Brigadiers are very good fire support with their Eric's missiles, and they can even shoot at other infantry. So if you have this right here, this canal with these buildings here, they can actually shoot all the way across and hit infantry in these buildings. So very good fire support. Very good fire support infantry. So Bismarck is actually coming to help me out a bit. He's bringing some Humvees with some SMAWs in them, as they're the only fire support the U.S. have. I move my LVTPs across here to cover, to make sure that they don't try an amphibious landing or a sneaky helicopter landing around here. The Storm Grenadiers are now doing what I said, getting those Eric's missiles and firing on those infantry. As you can see, very, very good fire support. Now, they bring an Mi-24P to try to deal with a substantial blow to the enemy, but these Cairo has these NPCs with an autocannon, which these autocannons will wreck apart this helicopter, as you see, as it just falls over dead. So they're bringing forward some planes, trying to find some radar, but our radar is off. And I see these riflemen that are moving forward, so I bring my Nighthawk in to bomb this first area of the village to give these riflemen a good clear shot and weaken up any infantry that might still be there so that they can capture this village. And meanwhile, I still am getting a sizable defense up. Bismarck and Cairo are bringing some defense with here as well. So we're setting up a nice solid defensive line because at this point Kilo's lost, and so at this point the Rifleman 90s are almost making it into the village, but some Su-24M comes in with all those bombs and lands right on these Bradleys and takes quite a few of them out. These Riflemen are all stunned up, but he's trying to push forward and try to secure these villages here. The enemy then decides that they've since been kicked out of Kilo to try to start flanking to the left, but Cairo and his wonderful autocannon APCs are already in position to ambush and prevent that counterattack over there. In the meanwhile, Bismarck and his Lafayettes repelled a barrage of Fabeo anti-ship planes as the Sea Cobra comes up and takes out another anti-ship truck. The enemy's trying to bring in ships, but with the two Lafayettes right onto the spawn point, the Nanushkas are not going to last very long, though he does manage to get a couple helicopters that were intended for a landing invasion. However, the Nanushka is dead as the Sea Cobra comes up and scouts out the Foxtrot, whatever might be in the back line. Since, after all, we can't see them due to the fact that they're in the bushes, and he manages to find the CV right here in Foxtrot. Now, if he takes this out, that means they can't bring in any more ships, and that will allow us basically to start begin seizing control of this area, especially if Bismarck puts Lafayette right here on Foxtrot, and then we can start bringing reinforcements right into from the sea and begin assaulting their main spawn location directly. So this massive push worked out pretty well, especially since we lost to the left. So my job here is just to hold the front line. My LVTP is engaging a napalm tank with its grenade launchers and actually did quite a bit of damage. Yeah, grenade launchers do quite a bit against tanks. Now, knowing that he knew where my LVTP was, I just back him up right here into the forest because I expected some kind of retaliation. I expected more artillery than anything else, but he fired some napalm there to make sure that my LVTP wasn't there. So, a good reaction from me. The SMAs are engaged with infantry. Now, normally SMAs engaging into direct combat don't work out well, but these Wachutans are quite damaged and panicked already. So these SMAs are doing a fairly decent shot against them, as Cairo brings in some Volksjaegers to back them up into Juliet. The enemy then begins pushing forward out of the woods, but these M2 Bradleys are here, ready to intercept them already, as our allies also bringing forward some artillery. So, the Lafayette's here. We can now begin reinforcements. The enemy is bringing all sorts of planes to try to dislodge our position here as these anti-radar missiles come in. The MiG-25BM just gets out from the Lafayette, but they do have high ECM, so it wasn't the first sure thing that they would get it. As the rest of the map starts to unfold, at this point, the enemy's not really pushed forward. They view that this push right here is too much of a threat, and they're happily just this doesn't move anymore, so we can stop focusing on this area. Bismarck and Cairo are doing well securing Juliet as we begin to push in on Foxtrot. So I finally at this point noticed that we actually had Foxtrot, and I decided to start bringing in some reinforcements in the terms of these Twin Hueys. These are my Stinger missiles, as I'll set up a basically an umbrella of air defense to try to keep these anti-ship planes away, as I say that. Now these surveillers were going to come for the Lafayette, but they saw Cairo's Fighting Falcon and decided to try to take off. Now most of the Veil missiles missed the Lafayette, so that was pretty lucky for us. I bring forward my Twin Huey. I was planning to unload it here closer to the forest, but this Drop 2 intercepts and completely destroys my Twin Huey before it could get the Stinger off the ground. So knowing where the Drop 2 was, I decided I needed to unload these Stingers quite away. So I just hit the unload button, intending to get them into the forest area, but to my shock, well, not really to my shock, but to my pleasant surprise, it just jumped into this building here, and they actually took shelter in a well. So yeah, watch out for that well. It's got Stinger missiles. I moved my Twin Huey forward just to scout out what they all have. I see that they have 2 tanks here, and that they also have a Moderna. It's a nice autocannon. So this tells us basically what the enemy defense forces have at this area to give us a better idea of what to prepare for. At the simultaneous same time, well, not at the simultaneous same time, the enemy is pushing forward a little bit with his Yucatades as we are beginning to solidify this location. Here we go. The enemy is beginning to push forward with some infantry to try to capture this location and to take out our ZV. So they're trying to react to our push with a push of their own. These T-80Bs are moved forward. Now tanks actually are a reasonable defense to ships, due to the fact that the ships only have HE power. And T-80B, with their 14 front armor, can actually withstand that damage from the ship high explosive quite well. The reason why they're going down is that they got face-to-face with some US Marine 90s. So, also I bring in my Nighthawk. Now the Nighthawk has devastating bombs, and if they land right on top of a tank, they take the tank right out. Now, they brought Fibales forward. I thought they were going to try to take out the Lafayette, but they must have saw the Fighting Falcon from Cairo and buggered off. But the Fighting Falcon drops his bombs. Unfortunately, he gets taken out, but I think he's aiming for this Mi-24P, and he is, and he takes it out. So the enemy brings the Prevail, they launch all their missiles, and they take out the Lafayette and stop our command secure. Now, I called in this Chaparral, and I placed it before that Lafayette died. And even though that we don't have control of this command sector, my Chaparral still came in at the spawn location to come and reinforce the area. So, if you see that your CV is about to die and you're quick on the draw and bring in a unit right into that area, they will still spawn at that location even though there's no active command controlling that sector. So something to keep in mind as the enemy's bringing reinforcements to try to hold us off. They begin pushing hard and capturing this village. We have a command tank that survived, that Yakune shot, and now all they have left are these Sichuan 90s with their napalm launchers, but those napalm launchers will do nothing to this command tank. So this area is pretty much secured. They do bring in these Yakune. This is the major threat. They're trying to clear out our infantry and try to take out this tank. But these Jaeger 90s managed to intercept perfectly right in time as the Yakunes try to push forward. And these B-150s also open up. So these are caught right into a crossfire between infantry and APCs, and basically this entire push gets cleaned up, especially with the help of these Freedom Fighter rocket planes, as we managed to, as basically PS-360 and Bismarck and Cairo, basically everyone but me, successfully defend this push. Meanwhile, back on our actual initial landing, this Moderna is giving us hell of a lot of trouble. This Chamsuri is not going to survive much longer against these Moderna shots, as it takes one more whack to the side, and I believe that Bismarck decides to pull the Chamsuri away. My Stinger C takes out MI2, I believe, as the enemy is pushing forward some T-80 BVs. Now these are some heavy-duty tanks. These will be good against trying to knock out the ships that we have parked here, capturing it. And knowing that we're having trouble spotting the enemy and knowing that they're bringing in these heavy tanks, I bring in a longbow. Very excellent recon helicopter. It's got 16 Hellfire missiles, and these Hellfire missiles are unique as they are fire and forget. So I am mindful of the Strop too, but knowing that their fire and forget actually has its benefits. So when the missile fires, even if I lose sight of that vehicle, which I did right now, the missile will actually on its own keep going to the target. So if the longbow loses sight of, say, a vehicle the moment it spots it, if it launches that missile can still see the target and take it out. Indeed, it works the same here for the Strop too. So it fires those missiles, and even though it stuns the longbow, the missiles are on target and take out the Strop 2, allowing the longbow to actually go toe-to-toe with a Strop 2, as long as it's just one. So now that it's finally recovered, it begins to position into place, and I start beginning to take on these heavy tanks to keep them away from our ships. Knowing that the AA is now non-existent, 2 whacks from those Hellfire missiles, very accurate, takes out the first T-80 BV. Another volley takes out the second, and then we get one more volley out, and the other T-80 BV is down. So I fire my last volley of the Hellfire missile. I don't know which it saw, probably this SPW, probably saw it for a brief second before it lost sight. And now I'm bringing this longbow back. Another bomber comes in to take on these ships and does not get his bombs off because the air defense of the Lafayette are just too good for bombers. As well as Bismarck is pushing up and is managing to engage the Salamandra, and I believe he'll take it out. The helicopters don't have much health when they are engaged in direct fire. And this is also a pretty good recon unit, and yes, he does take it out, so that will help us in our securing of Foxtrot. So the enemy push is done here. Nothing's going to happen further over here, so the final bit is just going to happen with Foxtrot. If we can secure Foxtrot, we will win this game. So some Su-24M, more bombers trying to bomb this area. Unfortunately, the air defense is still good, and the Super Hornet manages to shoot one down and chase another one off. Now they bring forward a good combination of Monschützen 90s and Granatomets. These are a good combination. Granatomets can help handle with the infantry, and the Monschützen not only do infantry but also vehicles. Unfortunately, I didn't know this, and I will lose my Chaparral as well. My Nighthawk came in and tried to bomb the Moderna and took it down to 2 health left. So they do take out most tanks, but when the tank is heavily armored like the Moderna, that also presents a problem. But at this point, the enemy knows that they've kind of lost and they're all just surrendering away. And that is the end of the game. So, GG. Not bad for my first replay that I decided to share. I'm fairly positive. Bismarck did all the work with his Lafayettes, and Cairo did a pretty decent job. PS360, I mean, he scored even, so not very bad for him. Last call left. And, yeah. So that was my first ever replay. Thank you all for checking out the channel and checking out replay as I play games in the future. And I hope to see you all in the next video. Goodbye.